You cannot trust Google when it comes to running Google Ads, and let me explain you why in this video. So basically we'll look at a couple of reasons why you cannot trust the algorithm fully or Google in general when it comes to Google Ads. And I will keep the number one reason and explain exactly why and exactly how it works at the end of the video. We will start with a couple of smaller reasons that show you, and we will build up slowly step by step so that you can see that you cannot trust Google fully. But let's start maybe with who does it serve in the end. Obviously Google, because you have to understand, and I can give you that as a key takeaway at the beginning of the video already. Google doesn't care about your results. Google doesn't care how much revenue you make. Google doesn't care how much profit you make. Google doesn't care about your ROAS. Google doesn't care how many leads you need per month. Google simply doesn't care. The only thing Google cares about when it comes to Google Ads, right? What does Google care about? It's not, again, not your revenue, not your profit. It's Google's revenue, right? Google's revenue, Google's profit. That's how Google earns their money, and it's by far one of the most profitable businesses on earth. They generate billions every single month with their advertising system. So obviously it's built to increase Google's revenue, right? Everything else is optional. Your results, if you get some, great. If not, doesn't matter, because Google will still earn money, right? All right, so let's look at a couple of reasons. Reason number one that shows you that Google doesn't give a shit about you. Google is immensely slow and needs a lot of data in the beginning, right? When you start a new campaign, and if you advertise on Google, you probably know that it takes some time in the beginning, right? You need to gather, it even takes some time to ramp up the spend, but also like to see some first results and first purchases, right? CPC is too high in the beginning, like everything is a bit off, it takes some time. We usually say at least like 30 to 50 conversions, right? 30 to 50 conversions. Or you can also say at least like 1-2 weeks of running ads, 1-2 weeks. So it's quite slow, and obviously there are a couple of rational reasons for that, but also it's quite slow in the beginning, and then it slowly gets better and better, right? It's like this addiction mechanism. So Google obviously wants you to spend, but if you don't get any results, you are most likely to stop advertising, and Google doesn't want that, right? So you spend money, you get a little bit, so you start to spend more and more, and you stick to the platform. Then it slowly gets better and better and better and better, and you kind of stick with the platform and you start to increase the spend. If there wouldn't be any results at all, or even if there would be results too quickly and too much, and that's something I will show you later at the end of the video, it wouldn't be as effective for Google in generating big bucks, right? So it kind of like I said, like an addiction mechanism. Like you stick to the platform, you get some results, now you get excited, right? You want more, so you start to spend more, you spend more, and the results get better, but like they're not really satisfying yet. So it takes some time, it's quite slow, and then you get better results, you start to optimize some things, you get even more excited, right? So it's a constant cycle, and it basically keeps you hooked. It keeps you with the platform at all time. So you constantly spend money. Reason number two, and that's a big one as well, is the lack of transparency. So if you run on Google, maybe you run Performance Max campaigns, whatever campaign it is, but especially with Performance Max campaign, which is being advertised as this big, powerful, smart campaign, AI trim campaign, where you can advertise on all Google properties, right? Search, YouTube, shopping, you name it, whatever it is. But what's interesting about that campaign is you have very little insights for which search terms your ads are showing, right? So all of that, or even like on which Google properties now, what are the placements like? what is the distribution between whatever it is, shopping, right? YouTube, search. And there are ways to find it out. Nowadays it's a bit better also with the search terms, but you still don't see 100% of the data. Not at all. And for the average Joe, it's quite difficult to even get to the data, right? Sometimes we have to install third-party scripts to even get to that, or we have to work with certain workarounds to make sure we spend more on this segment or that segment. So it's not transparent at all, and it makes you wonder why, right? If Google wants the best for you, why is it such a black box? And we always talk about like this mythical black box, right? It's not transparent at all, but it should be if Google has your best interest at heart at all times, right? All right, reason number 3 that shows why Google is not on your side. And that's something that came with the smart campaigns and the data-driven, AI-driven campaigns, right? Because basically what those types of campaigns are doing is they kind of streamline things, right? Before you had so many different, also on with Facebook ads, right? With Meta ads, you had so many different strategies, so many different campaign types and different approaches, and like everything kind of worked, and like you could go in so many different directions, right? And now we have like basically this, like we said, the BMAX campaign, right? Or a couple of bid strategies that just make sense. So you have this one campaign, everything kind of goes into that, and basically Google says, yeah, let's just run it, right? Let us do this thing. It's super easy to set up. Just put a budget on it and listen to our recommendations, and it will be just fine. Except it isn't. And what that means is that every single advertiser kind of has more or less the same approach, right? Quite simple, one campaign, super streamlined. And why is that important for Google? Because with that, they can control it better. Also with this one campaign, right? Where you have all the Google properties within one campaign, and they decide where it gets spent on. So what does that mean? Control for Google. With that, right, the different approaches, the different techniques, the different hacks and strategies, what that meant was control for the advertiser. Oh, that's a little bit bad. Advertiser. Obviously, if Google is in control, they're also in control when it comes to the revenue, right? So they love that. And that's why they promote it so much. It's not because it's so great or because the AI is so smart. And don't get me wrong, it is. It's a very powerful mechanism. And of course, we use it as well. Like you cannot fight against it in a way you might imagine. But again, the reason why Google pushes it, it's not because it's so great. It's because like they are in control. And when they're in control, they're also in control of the revenue, where they show the ads and everything basically. We kept the best part for the end, namely why exactly isn't Google on your side and how does this whole thing work exactly? Because you might think now, and that's a valid thought, wait a minute, Chris, if Google just gives me better results, I will spend more money on Google Ads, which means more revenue for Google, right? So why doesn't give Google me better results? And in the end, everybody wins. So the thing is, that's not exactly how it works. And the way it works, it's basically like a bell curve. And I absolutely love bell curves. Let's try to like do a nice one, kind of like that. Like I swear, bell curves are the single greatest thing that ever happened to mankind. Beautiful bell curve, normal distribution. Mr. Gauss, if you understand bell curves, like you can do everything, right? Like you need to understand the concept of bell curves, normal distribution, probably one of the most important mathematical concepts, especially in statistics. But let's keep it focused on Google Ads and what it means exactly. So basically you were saying, why doesn't Google just give me better results? And that's the profit of Google, right? And these are your results. So obviously it's pretty straightforward. If you don't make results, right? If you're somewhere here, you will probably stop advertising and Google doesn't make a lot of revenue. Quite sad. But we are saying, why doesn't Google give me the best results? They make a lot of revenue there, right? And it sounds simple and it sounds true in theory, but it's not the case, because think about it. If you just crush it like crazy in whatever niche you're in, you cannot just scale like crazy. Let's say you're in Ecom. If you get the ROAS like crazy and you scale numbers up and you make millions of revenue within a couple of days, first of all, it's not even possible to do that for every advertiser, right? Like, it's simply not possible. Like, Google cannot push everyone to its limits and be like, just scale. And also you will have some issues in the backend. If you start from zero and after 1 month you're at $1 million in revenue, $1 million in profit, whatever, right? Like, you will have some backend issues. You will have issues with stock, you will have issues with payment processing, you will have issues with scaling your team, customer service. And it doesn't matter if it's e-com or like lead gen. Let's say you're in the lead gen business and you wanna sell apartments, right? If it's sold out after 1 day, you will stop advertising. If you get only a couple of leads here and there, you need to continue to advertise for an extended period of time. And also, like we said with Ecom, if you just crush it like crazy, like your backend will break, right? So you have to stop. You will have to slow it down. And that's why Google doesn't make a lot of revenue there either. And that's also why you're always like somewhere in the middle, right? Google tries to keep you satisfied, they try to keep you hooked, but never really like good enough. So you always have to like spend a lot of money on advertising. So that's why your results, that's why Google tries to keep you there, because there Google is happy, right? Because that's where Google makes the most profit, and that's how it works. So it's a bell curve. You cannot have shitty results. Google will not make a lot of money. You cannot have crazy results, because then Google will not make a lot of money. The majority of the advertisers have to be somewhere there in the middle in order for Google to make the most revenue, the most profit. So again, it's not about your results, it's not about your ROAS, it's not about your revenue, it's not about your profit, or whatever else you want. Google simply doesn't care. As long as you're somewhere here and keep spending a lot on Google Ads and increase Google's revenue, then it's good. All right. So bottom line of this, don't trust the Google algorithm blindly. Don't trust the Google reps who wanna like sell you something or tell you about this new mind-blowing recommendation, right? I get thousands of calls of them every single day, thousands of emails. And that's also why I do this video, because it's time for everybody to understand how it actually works and why it works like that. Super important video. What can you do about it? Obviously, you have to work within Google systems, right? And again, the AI can be quite powerful. It can be quite strong. So what you can do is quite simple. You have to make sure, all right, you stay in control, right? You check where your spend is going. You read the data, you know exactly what's happening. You make sure you feed the algorithm quality data so you get the most out of it. And you also have to be smart with segmentations, right? So you can cut low performing campaigns, low performing keywords, low performing products, whatever it is, early on. And you can keep pushing the winners more, right? So obviously you have to stay within Google system. There is no secret hack or something that you can do, that something black hat or whatever you have in mind that gives you like the crazy ROAS, right? Like, doesn't work. You have to stay within the system, but obviously you have to use whatever works for you to get the most out of it. So maybe you can be somewhere here, right? When the majority has to stay there. And that's pretty much it. So very interesting video. I wanted to do that for a long time. Really, really important to know as well. So that's it. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments or don't, whatever. And see you in the next one. Bye bye.